right, so today we are making the personal microwave pizza recipe. This is a single serving pizza. You make it in a paper bowl. You can make it right in your microwave. You do not need a stovetop or anything. Stuff you should already have in your house. So flour, baking soda, baking powder, salt. Those are your dry ingredients for your crust. And then you need milk and olive oil. You can use a different type of oil. I like olive oil because it's herbaceous. You can taste the earthiness in it, and so it gives it like a really nice flavor. If you want to get really fancy, you can add other things to your crust. You can add like Italian seasoning. You can add garlic powder, and really like make it more herbaceous and enjoyable that way. You only need a couple measuring tools. You're going to need at least 1 tablespoon and 1/4 of a teaspoon. You actually are using half and then 1/4 of this in your recipe. It's really, really small micro measurements. So pay attention to the sneaks that I give you. All right. So what? Pizza. So we're going to start with flour. When you guys are in the kitchens on lab days, this will already be for you. You'll just have a big bowl of flour in your kitchens. And each individual table will have your own mess to work with. Okay. Flour, like all dry ingredients, must be leveled off. So I'm going to scoop some out so you guys can actually see what I'm doing. Okay, flour. All right, so the biggest mistake that kids make with this recipe, first mistake, is measuring the flour. So when you read through your directions, first one is obviously to wash your hands and then start your soapy sink. Then you do your dry ingredients. If you look at the recipe, they are actually broken down. So your dry ingredients are labeled right here, and then there's a line, and then your wet ingredients. You have to separate them. So if you want to, on your paper copy, to like draw a huge line between them so you know, do not like mix these two together yet, do that. That is literally the #1 mistake that students make in this, is just going straight from dry to wet and not mixing them separately, which is what needs to happen. Yes?
Can you get a smaller bowl?
You'll have a bowl like this.
Oh.
Can you get a smaller one for your house?
Yeah.
Absolutely. I buy them in bulk because I'm making like 40 pizzas.
So where do you put the line through again?
Can I use butter except for olive oil?
You have to melt it first. So they asked if we could use butter instead of olive oil. Yes, but you have to melt the olive oil first. You have to melt the butter first. You could use vegetable oil. You could use grapeseed oil, sunflower oil, cottonseed oil. No petroleum. All right, so with dry ingredients, this is going to be 5 tablespoons.
Yeah,
I know you all know how to count to 5, but for some reason you completely forget that when it's time to put it into a bowl. Don't ask me why. Overfill your spoon and level it off. I'm using the back side just of like a table knife, the flat side. Make sure your table knife is flat on the back. Some of them have like little curves and ridges. We don't want that. Flat table knife. And you're going to do 5. Okay. Literally, biggest mistake, kids either don't level their flour correctly or they don't count to 5. Usually they are under, not over. Okay. Life hack for you if you're doing this at home, 5 tablespoons is actually 1/4 of a cup plus 1 tablespoon. So you could do 1/4 of a cup and then a tablespoon if you're worried it would not be accurate enough. Okay, 5 tablespoons of flour, easy peasy. Okay, next thing we're going to add is 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt. Some measuring spoon sets come with 1/8 teaspoon, most don't. Usually 1/4 is as small as you're going to get. So 1/8 of a teaspoon is actually half of 1/4. So I'm just going to do this over the sink so that I don't get it all over the counter. Okay. And since I'm making 2, I'm just going to put half in one.
You're making 2?
Mm-hmm. And half in the other. If I don't make 2, you wouldn't be able to taste it. There wouldn't be enough. So 1/8 of a teaspoon is half of a fourth. If you need to write that on your notes so that you don't forget that and you're not asking me where the eighth is, or you decide to do 2 of these because you think 1/4 plus 1/4 is 1/8, which it's not. It's 2/4, which reduces to 1/2. Let's all remember our fractions. Half of a fourth, you take the denominator, the number on the bottom, and you multiply it by 2. That's how you half a fraction. So half of a fourth is an eighth. Okay. You also need 1/8 of a teaspoon of baking powder. Baking powder usually comes in these cans. In the labs, these will actually be poured out for you, and they will be labeled separately in small, like cupcake papers. So one will say BP and one will say BS, baking soda and baking powder. Okay. All right. So again, you only need half because you're doing an eighth. So I'm just going to divide it between the 2. Makes my life a little bit easier when I make 2 at a time. If you're not making 2 at a time, no big deal. The last you need is a 1/16 of a teaspoon of baking soda. So that would be a 1/4 of a fourth. That's impossible. In baking, if you're ever like looking at a recipe, sometimes it'll say a pinch. That's literally a measurement. A pinch is a 1/16 of a teaspoon. You literally grab a pinch and you throw it in there. That's a 1/16 of a teaspoon. So where it says 1/16, it says the tiniest pinch on there, and I mean that. Okay, it really is just a pinch. So it says number 3 on your direction says number 2, add dry ingredients and mix with a fork. Why do I need to mix all of these dry ingredients together? What's the point?
So then you put the wet ingredients in then?
But why do I have to mix the dry? I know I have to add the wet ingredients, but why do I have to mix the dry without the wet?
So then your base is
I don't do that. So I don't know my answer.
Okay, so you guys that are here in person, I'll show you guys in the screen. Okay, if you look in there, you can see there's different shades of white. Okay, you guys see that? Different shades
Yes.
of white. What would happen if I didn't mix those together? See the different shades?
It wouldn't be like together.
It wouldn't be cool.
So, see different shades? Okay. If I were to not mix these together, the baking powder and the baking soda, which are leavening agents give food lift. They make it rise. If I didn't mix these together, all of the leavening agents would be in one part of the dough, and that'd be the only part that would rise. The rest of it would be flat. Also, baking soda, baking powder are very metallic tasting. They're very alkaline. So if you don't mix them in, you're going to take a bite and you're going to get a big taste of pennies. It's literally going to taste like you have a mouthful of pennies if you don't mix them in. So that's one of the many reasons, a really dry piece of flour, one of the many reasons we mix them, mostly to distribute the leavening agents, and then second, for taste. You don't want it to taste bad. Nobody's going to eat food that tastes bad. Okay. Now, at this point, especially you folks at home, if you want to like jazz up your crust or anything, you can add stuff to it. I like to do kind of like an herb crust. So just a couple shakes of Italian seasoning. You could do garlic powder, anything like that. Just give it a little pizzazz. So it's not just an olive oil flavored crust. You could do something else. Okay. It's like a focaccia. Okay. All right. So my dry ingredients are thoroughly mixed. Direction 3, add the wet. Now we're going to add the wet ingredients. So it's 3 tablespoons of milk and 1 tablespoon of olive oil. I'm going to start with the olive oil. Let me be very frank with you. If you don't fill these spoons up all the way, your crust will suck. If you do not fill it up to the very, very top, your crust will be underwhelming. It will be dry. It will be grainy. You need to fill that spoon up to the very, very top. Okay. Your wet ingredients are going to be in things that you can pour from. Pour into your spoon like I'm doing. You're not scooping with the spoon. You only scoop dry ingredients. Wet ingredients you pour. Yes.
How do you make cheesy bread?
Bread with cheese.
Oh.
You put the cheese
And an oven.
Well, the cheese in the middle. Oh.
Oh, you mean like cheesy stuffed bread?
Yeah, that's what I meant, yeah.
Fold it.
You make the dough and then you put a line of cheese in it and roll it up.
If Jose, me, and Adrian want to do that, can we do that?
Not with this kind of dough. All right, because this is a quick bread dough. That's a yeast dough, Ethan. That's a yeast dough. This is a quick bread dough. So again, with the milk, you need 3 tablespoons. If you do not fill that spoon up all the way, it's not accurate, and your crust will be underwhelming. Accurate measurements matter more in baking than they do in savory cooking. And even though you're not using the oven, this is still baking. It's chemistry. And those accurate measurements are everything. If you don't measure accurately, you don't get a good product. So this is what we're dealing with. Okay. From there, you're going to mix it up. Okay. Gently. Do not slosh this all over the counters, anything like that.
Wait, is this gonna be like the ones that you get from like Papa Murphy's, like the little tiny ones, 6 ones?
Can I stir it for you?
No.
Okay. So once everything starts to get incorporated, it comes together really quickly. Okay, and I'm done. That's it. Okay, this should be like incredibly thick pancake batter. Okay, pancake batter is drippy. This is not. Okay, you're essentially making like a really herbaceous biscuit. And then I just take the fork and I just pull it around. This should come together really quickly. You should not have to fight with it.
Like pancake that.
Does it taste good?
Yeah.
This doesn't.
This doesn't.
Oh.
Once it's cooked though. It should not be drippy. Everything should be wet. Not drippy, but everything's wet. Okay? Right? So, like I said, this is essentially like a really herbaceous biscuit. The olive oil gives it a nice flavor. All right, and I'm just pulling it out to the sides. I'm gonna do the same with the other one. You do not want to mix this into oblivion. Okay, wheat has something in it called gluten. It's a protein. Gluten is what gives breads, anything, baked goods, their elasticity. It's what allows them to like spring back. Like if you touch a piece of bread, it goes like that's gluten. Okay. And when you overwork gluten, either by mixing it or kneading it, overworking it, the glutens can't stretch back, and you end up with a really dry, underwhelming product. It's okay if it's a little lumpy, just like pancake batter. Okay. All right. So you should be able to do the DQ flip and nothing come out. Okay. All right. You should be able to do the DQ flip. So at this point, now we're done with steps 2 and 3. Step 4, wash your fork. I'm only giving you 1. Okay. It's bad enough I have to use all this disposable stuff. Let's at least save the environment. All right. Wash your fork. Step 5, now it's time for toppings. You can put whatever you want on it. If you look here in the directions, it says 3 tablespoons. That would be the max. I do like 1.5 to 2. 3 is like super saucy, like so saucy, stuff sliding off of it. So it really depends on what you like. Yes.
Could I use like that's like the oil, cause like I don't like
Olive oil?
Yeah.
Yeah, you could drizzle a little olive oil on there.
Well, I use like olive oil as sauce because I don't like marinara.
Yeah, you could drizzle a little olive oil on there. All right. So again, you guys will have a bowl of this. I'm just gonna start with 1 on each. Okay.
At least I'm not basic.
All right. And then you just spread it out with your fork. Like I'm just gonna do 1 on these because I want the cheese to actually stick to it. You will see in direction 5, it says gently top, and then in bold it says do not mix. Why do you think I have to put in bold do not mix? Because every year somebody makes me orange pizza.
Wait, how do you make orange pizza? I'll do that.
Okay. Do not mix the sauce into the crust. It should sit on top. Okay. Just sits on top. Do not mix the crust and the sauce together. All right. Again, you guys will have multiple spoons in your kitchen. I'm just trying to not get everything out right now. Cheese. You can use any type of cheese. You don't have to use mozzarella. That's just what I have at school. Okay. Cheddar, Swiss, Kobe Jack, whatever. Again, it says 3 tablespoons. That would be a max. I really feel like 2 is really all you need for this size bowl that we're using. Also, cheese is not an accurate measurement. It's not going to fit nicely in a spoon. Okay. Once the toppings are on your pizza, touch them. They're yours. Okay. I'm using tools because I'm going to cut these up once we're done and let the folks here try them. But when you guys are making your own, once it's in your bowl, it's yours. Touch it. Okay? Knock yourself out. All right.
Yeah, can I
So-
close it down?
All right. So I'm just using my fork to spread it around. Okay. Pepperoni is what I normally put on them. You can leave it as just cheese. I also have black olives for you guys for tomorrow. I didn't get any pineapple. Does anybody want pineapple?
Do you have any mushrooms?
Okay.
Do you have any mushrooms?
No, but I can get some.
Do you have Canadian bacon?
No, I have real bacon.
Do you have a banana? Yeah, because it'll just cook it up.
Canadian bacon's just ham.
And so much. It's not the same.
All right. So I do the mini pepperonis. I do the mini pepperonis. Those of you guys that are here in person, I tend to limit you to like 10 per person, just so everybody has enough. However, also understand that whatever's in your kitchen is going to get thrown away after your class. So if everybody's like taking their 10 pepperonis and there's still some left, use them all or they're going in the garbage.
What happened if you put 11 pepperonis?
I just gave that direction, Ethan. So hopefully you're in a group tomorrow with someone who can re-explain that for you.
Okay.
Okay. So once it's topped with your toppings, it's time to go in the microwave. Cover this in the microwave. Nobody wants your pizza splatters inside their microwaves. If you get them inside mine, you'll be cleaning them up. If you get them inside your one at home, you get to deal with your mom the day after Mother's Day. All right. So paper towel, that's all you need. Okay. So these microwave for about a minute 10, a minute 20. The microwaves here at school, if you just hit the one, it starts automatically. So you have to hit cook time. Oh, except for on this one. This one's weird. But normally you would do, this one's weird. Normally the rest of them you do cook time and then you enter what you need. So I'm going to start that one and then this one.
We have
What?
those plastic things. The plastic I feel like I want to go time to cut up the bacon and I'll pickle it.
It's already cut. It's already cooked. Pre-cooked.
Oh, it's
pre-cut.
like the bacon bits?
It's real bacon though. It's just pre-crumbled real bacon. I don't do bacon bits. I don't do faux bacon. It's pre-crumbled real bacon. So, while your pizzas are cooking, this is a good time to get your kitchen cleaned up. Any dishes you haven't washed, etc., can get washed during this time. Your counters can get wiped down. Yes, you guys are making individual labs, but you are also sharing space. And there's a class that has to come in after you and cook as well. So keep that in mind as well. This bag does not want to close correctly.
It's like Ellen pizza.
All right. So sometimes it sticks to the paper towel, not a big deal.
That's it, soup.
Okay. All right, the thing that you're looking for most of all is that the crust is done. This is kind of, like I said, like an herbaceous biscuit crust. So you're going to take your fork, you're just going to pull off at the sides, and you're going to look underneath. Okay? So you guys can see. Can I just eat a piece? Is it has? It's good. Like, it's not like a yeast
Is it
crust. It's
buzzing,
more like a yeastish kind of crust.
The hot dog.
You're gonna make her trip.
Right?
You want that 15 finger?
I'm just kidding.
So,
Can I see it? I didn't get to see it.
I mean, you have a
I'll prevent. No, it's not enough.
Okay.
Yeah, it's actually for my friends.
That's what the crust looks like.
That's cool.
Okay. So, like I said, it's not like a yeast crust. It's more like a biscuit dough.
It's like yellow.
Because it's all oil.
Little
olive oil is
little
green.
boy. Will you come over here?
And when you dilute olive oil, it gets
Did you like make this in college?
more yellow. All right. Yes. You have to get creative in college. Okay. But this is all stuff like I would go back to my parents' house and I would like fill up little like Tupperwares with just small amounts of things. Because the dining halls are not open 24/7 and sometimes you're hungry at 3 a.m. So again, you just check it. Well, sometimes you don't want that though. You just want,
is it like cooking
because
classes?
frozen pizzas that you microwave are junk.
Dude, they are vibing. There's some good ones.
Jack's Pizza Slab.
You think they're vibing? Wait till you try this. It's not chewy.
For like college, is it like cooking classes you can take too then, right?
Not really. Not unless that's what you are like majoring in. Okay. I have a whole like cookbook I put together of just stuff you can make in the microwave.
You should make a cookbook.
I did. I have one.
Wait, can you make a cookbook for me?
Just stuff you make in the microwave.
You should make a cookbook for me.
Ask your mom. Miss,
I don't have a mom.
why do I call them college kids if they're not kids anymore?
Think that's fun?
Oh, I assure you, you're still a child for many years. I'm 35 and I still need my mom sometimes.
But they're. But the
Wait,
definition
we'll find out.
of
She's cutting into pieces for us.
this.
Smash it in the freezer.
Oh, you just said it. No, I didn't. Yeah, you just said it.
Someone hacking a
That is a
little
scary
cut.
fact.
Okay. All right, so I'm gonna let this cool for a hot minute because, yeah, it is. But I want you guys to really be able to see the inside and see. It's like a biscuit or like a focaccia bread if you've ever had focaccia, and that's because of those leaveners. Okay, it's because of the baking soda and the baking powder. All those little gaps. Okay, this is what leaveners do. They build air pockets into your food, and that's what these are. Okay. If you don't use leaveners, say like you know, a tortilla, right? You don't have these air pockets. Because leaveners give you air pockets. All right.
Yeah.
All right. So there you have it.